Join us as we take a closer look at the actual miniatures themselves that come in the Burning of Prospero. Spiky bits. Make sure you stay in the trenches by becoming a supporter over on Patreon and also scoring yourself some free miniature swag in the process. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out our site, spikybits.com, for all the hot hobby tutorials, news, rumors on all your favorite hobby topics. And head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today. Alright, welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. Rob Baer here with your closer look at the new Burning of Prospero box. Now, of course, we didn't have enough time to talk about the actual miniatures and get into a lot more finite details about the contents of this kit, just because we like doing the first look, get it out there for everybody to kind of see, and then we like to break down things and take more time to kind of pour over all the contents and have more to report on, because there's a lot of gotchas in this kit, believe it or not. So today I wanted to take a look at the actual miniatures themselves, right? So the miniatures in here are a great value, to be quite honest. There's 7 different individual kits, and if you do, you know, some math and kind of compare and contrast to the older Betrayal like Calth kit, you can really come up with a baseline of about actual retail value of about $375 for this kit at, you know, conservative estimates, which is pretty amazing because the kit itself is only $150. So if GW follows along with the same route to market or path to market that they did with the Betrayal like Calth stuff, you could be looking at, you know, basically a 60% savings over picking up this stuff individually from the shelf, you know, say in the next coming year. So, but that aside, there's some great looking miniatures in here that aren't available anywhere else, like the Custodes, like the Sisters of Silence, of course the Mark III plastics, which were only previously available from Forge World themselves. Now, Forge World has completely redesigned their site, or redesigned their offerings, and redesigned a lot of the upgrade kits. And all that stuff works with the new plastics now, which is really cool. Like, if you look at the site, there's like 300 plus Horus Heresy items, and the majority of them are actually upgrade parts, which is pretty genius on their part, I feel like. Now, getting to the actual models themselves, these are the Custodes. Now, the Custodes are, you know, basically the Emperor's right-hand guard kind of type deal, and people have converted these. Third-party miniature model makers have come out with a ton of these over the year, but now we finally have them in plastic. We have them in 2 different varieties. You can take them with the Guardian Spear, which there only comes with 3 of those in this one, unfortunately. It's I don't know exactly what they do. There will be rules in the new White Dwarf, but until then we're kind of at a loss as far as that goes. And the rest of them all can be armed with sentinel blades and a storm shield themselves. Now, the kit itself is obviously very multi-part plastic. It's completely posable. I mean, everything is pretty much a separate part, from the heraldry to the back halves of the torsos to the fronts. I mean, even the heads, the legs, they're basically stepping up with a 2-part leg kind of type deal. I mean, some of these guys have the sentinel blade positioned into the ground. Some of them are, you know, charging with it and all sorts of different things. So lots of epic poses possible with this. And of course, the Guardian Shield Captain has a dynamic cape as well, which you can see right here. It has some fantastic detail on it. Now, as far as assembly goes, like I was saying, they are very much multi-part. You can see here there's all sorts of different varieties. You can use the heads, basically. You can have the hair on it, the not hair on it. You can have blank heads, all sorts of different things. Now, we saw a picture of these guys. They tower over. They're basically on 40 mil bases, and of course, they tower over their cousins, the little normal Space Marines. So here's all the different weapon options for Guardian Spears. You can do the 2-handed. You can do the thing with the Storm Shield. Very cool stuff there. Now, there's no rules for these guys, like I said, but I imagine in the near future, Forge World will definitely come out with some 30K rules for these guys. Same with Sisters of Silence, if we're not already going to see them in a Prospero, or what is it called, Inferno, Book 7 of the Horus Heresy saga from Forge World themselves. Now, don't get it twisted. Remember, this is a huge opportunity for Games Workshop to launch a whole new line of miniatures, you know, from Forge World or from themselves in plastic. Who knows exactly yet. But keep in mind that if you go by the old Sabretooth Games artwork, from the old Warhammer CCG, there's all sorts of opportunity for new units. There was Guardian jet bikes, there was flying rhinos, there was guys with just bolters, there was, you know, heroes. There was all sorts of different things that made up the Custodes. Now, granted, they're not exactly going to go off planet and go to war, but they are going to detach out and add themselves, kind of like the Knights do, Garrow's Knights, you know, in the current Horus Heresy Book 6 from Forge World. So that gives us all sorts of opportunity, and of course opportunity for rules as well. So it really remains to be seen how much of a value this box set really is when we don't have anything to base it on other than, say, you know, the Blood Angel Terminators or the Deathwing Terminators or Dark Angel Terminators out of the current plastics. But that being said, this is a great looking kit, and I can't wait to see more Custodes action out there. Something else we would like to see more of course, is sisters, because who doesn't love some nuns with guns, or nuns with flammers, or nuns with swords? These are the Sisters of Silence, the Knoll Maidens, so to speak, depending on, you know, who's saying it, who's around to be heard within earshot range. Now, they can either be armed in the Vigilator patterns, the Witchseeker patterns, and the Prosecutor patterns. And the Prosecutors both guns, Witchseeker's Flamer, and Vigilator is, of course, the one with the ginormous Executioner Greatsword. Ginormous for them. Now, like I was saying in the unboxing video, this sprue definitely reminds me of a High Elf kit, because they are smaller models, right? But they're still pretty cool looking, and this is, you know, compared to a Astartes kit, you know, obviously a smaller kit, smaller three sprue kind of kit here, 3-component kit. But if you turn it sideways, it's almost one, you know, complete kind of kit here. So we're not getting like sold short or anything. It's just, you know, it is what it is. They're not that big of a models. It's the female form is smaller than the male form, so it makes sense that this is what you get, right? And you got 3 different ways to make them. You can take 5 with the flamers, 5 with the bolt guns, or 5 with the swords here. They're all in this kit. Obviously, this is probably going to come out separately. Like, it would be stupid not to. There are no existing rules for these guys. Again, we might see them in Inferno. We might see a whole different army, but there's even less of them than there is of the Custodes. So it's really hard to say which way they're going to go with this. But as far as detailing goes, fantastic looking models. I mean, these are some of the best sculpts we've seen out there. I mean, even the little capes have the fur, you know, around the edges. I mean, there's all sorts of amazing little details once you really start drilling into these. The shoulder pads, you know, they have little de facto Achilles, little eagles, you know, that are basically the same as the Emperors, but just a little bit different. And they're so small and very cool looking. I mean, you could almost use these as greaves or knee guards on normal Astartes if you wanted to. Very cool looking stuff here, and I'm sure we will see more plastic sisters in the near future, depending on who you ask, I guess, or who you listen to. So next up is the, what are these? This is the Mark III armor. Now, the different marks of armor don't have a specific rules role in the Horus Heresy or even 40K yet. However, the Terminator armor does, so we will talk about that next. But as far as these guys go, the sprues are kind of cool because everybody can have a chainsword that wants to at least attach them. Everybody can, or a couple of people can have it holding. Now, what makes this one different from the Mark IV stuff is that the backpacks are 2-part. Now, I'm not sure whether they couldn't render this in one piece, you know, with the undercuts. It doesn't seem any other practical reason other than that is the fact. So it takes up a little bit more space on here, so you don't get as much components as far as, you know, the different special weapons and things. You still get the heavy bolter. You don't get a missile launcher. You do get a melta-gun, plasma gun, plasma pistol, and of course the Ferox pattern bolters here. As far as everything else goes, got a couple of different power fist options or power claw, depending on, or you know, you can even say it's a lightning claw single, whatever you want to go with there, depending on if it's a space wolf or if it's not a space wolf. Remember, these are Legion neutered, Legion generic. They don't identify as any chapter or Legion out there yet until you get your hot little hands on them and do what you want with them. Of course, over here, there's only 6 bolt pistols, which isn't that big of a deal. But another separation from the Mark IV style of sprue that we've seen in the past is the fact that the legs are 2 parts, and enabling them, you know, to kind of maybe step and kind of point their bolters a little bit better, i.e. kind of how the Thousand Sons do, especially before they got turned into dust, which if you look closer at the Thousand Suns sprue that was spoiled or teased over on GW's Facebook page, that appears to be the case for those sprues as well. So maybe this is kind of like a, you know, kind of like a little bit of a preview to that, but it gives you more posability and more style as well. Now here's all the shoulder pads, of course, Legion non-specific, very cool stuff there. The iron Mark III iron helmets, more than enough that you need, and that's pretty much it for this. I mean, you got a couple of ammo pouches and things right there, but nothing too crazy that we didn't expect out of the ordinary there. Now, last but, well, not last, but almost last, is the Tartaros pattern armor. Now, this particular set of armor is very unique. It came out, this was kind of a hybrid kit from Forge World, to be quite honest. They tried using fine cast resin at first and shipping it out from Forge World and be like, hey, it's Forge World. Well, that didn't go over so well. It was lower quality, and people, you know, when you're paying Forge World prices, you expect Forge World quality, and that's not quite what we got. I actually own quite a few Tartaros painted Terminators that were that fine cast material that Forge World sold, and I'll be quite honest, I was a little disappointed in them, but now I can say that we have something better, so that's cool. Plastic is always trumps that material in my book, at least. Now, this also is the two-part kind of configuration with the legs, so they're a little bit more dynamic, they're a little bit easier to move. They can actually, rules-wise, perform sweeping advances, at least in the 30K rules. There's no official 40K rules for them yet, but hey, we saw the Cataphractii Terminators come out in 40K rules-wise in the Angels of Death book, so there's no reason to think that these guys won't follow suit at some point next year from Games Workshop as well. The kit, we just talked about a few things, right? As far as armament goes, you have the ability to either take the Power Fist, then you can attach the Lightning Claws to the Power Fist, which is really neat. Of course, you've got your normal Combi Bolter kind of deal right here, Combi Bolter, Storm Bolter. Then you've got more Power Fist up here. You've got the optional Chain Fist attachment to the Power Fist Lightning Claw kind of combo. I guess you really couldn't have a Lightning Claw Chain Fist, but you could attach it and it would look dope. Then you've got the Auto Cannon, the Reaper Auto Cannon, the predecessor to the everybody's favorite Assault Cannon. Over here, you've got the Archaeotech pistol, of course, the plasma, you got a dope looking little kind of sword, power sword kind of thing here, and of course, the multi-part heavy flamer. I think there's a grenade harness too, I forgot to look. Yep, there it is right there, boom. And there's the upgrade Sergeant bits. Of course, all the shoulder pads are, once again, very non-specific. You can choose to decorate them how you want, one studded, and of course, you've got your Sergeant action right there. Very cool looking at 5 different torsos right there. Very, very cool kit. Now, if you're looking for the rules for these for Horus Heresy, let me drop some knowledge bombs on you guys real quick. So basically the easiest way, if you're picking this up, you're like, yo, I'm gonna play Horus Heresy. This is happening. There's 2 boxes out. I don't see why now isn't the time for me to do it. Well, there's gonna be 2 things you wanna pick up right off the fly. You're gonna wanna get this Legion Astartes red book, which is the current one. This is a little bit more pricey, but it's got all of the units in it for just generic plain Horus Heresy. Here's all your units here. You can find all these articles over on Spiky Bits where we break it down and break down actually the changes between this book and the old book, because this actually updates all, actually it only updates about 5 of the black books, the black Horus Heresy books that are out there. So here's everything that's contained in here. Now, the other book that you might want to get is the Legion Astartes Age of Darkness Legions book. Now this contains, I believe it's 13 of the Legion's specific rules. Like if you want to play Horus Heresy and you're like, yo, I want to play Emperor's Children. Well, all of your Emperor's Children rules are right here. Exactly how they work, the rites of battle, basically their special abilities. Then they've got, of course, special units like the Phoenix Team, Terminator Squad, the Palatine Blades, Cacophony, you know, all sorts of different things. And that's basically how it goes in here. What is not for 13 of the Legions, and here's the list right here. What is not contained in here is the stuff from book 6, which will be your Blood Angels, your Dark Angels, your White Scars, and somebody else I'm forgetting right now, forgive me. But we still are waiting on rules for Sanguinius, as well as the Legion-specific rules for Thousand Suns and Space Wolves, because those are going to come out, well, not Sanguinius, but those will come out in book 7 of Horus Heresy, which should be entitled Inferno. So lots more stuff on the horizon. This is kind of like a unprecedented kind of dual release kind of thing. This box set goes on the sale the same day Lehman Russ, the prom art, goes on sale from Forge World as well. So a lot of lining up, a lot of crossing of the streams here, marketing wise, for Games Workshop, and it's really cool to see. Now, getting back to their specific rules, there are specific Tartaros Terminator pattern rules for Horus Heresy. You're not going to find them in this red book, however. What you will find is just a normal Legion Terminator squad, which they are elites, but scoring-wise, they count. If something is a troops and it counts as scoring, well, they count as scoring too. That's their new implacable advanced rule for these guys. This is updated in this book here. If you have a Horus Heresy, any of the 6 other books, this update is probably not in it. And that's why having the red books are good, because you can take them to game stores. They're this big, and you're not toting around $600 worth of 1-inch thick books. You can also get the digital versions of this stuff, which is pretty dope. And they have a lot of the additions, omissions, FAQs, and erratas. However, to get the actual Tartaros pattern rules, you have to get the Forge World FAQ rules and clarifications download from Forge World's site, which has a lot of stuff in here, but the only thing we're concerned about is both the Cataphractii and the Tartaros pattern Terminator armor, which the rules are right here. These guys can perform sweeping advances, and also they basically give you some other pointers of, hey, if it's modeled a certain way, you can say it's that pattern of armor. If it's not, don't, kind of type deal, which makes a lot of sense, I suppose. There's some other restrictions and things, but this is a free download from Forge World's site. You can get to it in the bottom right corner of their site under the downloads button. I think there's some Age of Sigmar stuff listed there. Now, one more kit to go. What do you think it is? Actually, it's 2. It's the special characters. There they are. Boom, boom, pow. Wow. So, last set, the Betrayal at Calth, these guys were combined together. You got basically a generic chaplain and a generic Terminator captain, we'll go with, right? But now we've got 2 separate independent characters, special characters, that have the potential to be separate clan pack models when and if Games Workshop packages these separately and puts them out in the next year or so, similar to what they did with Betrayal at Calth. Now, of course, you got Aramon and Gregor the Fell-Handed. Now, a lot of people forget Fell-Handed is a term, is a title that is bestowed on a particular wolf by the Great Wolf himself, the Wolf King, Lehman Russ. And of course, well, there was somebody before Bjorn that had that title, and this is all developing fluff kind of type thing. But if you dig into it, it's all legit. Like, there was no Bjorn the Fell-Handed at the Battle of Prospero. That title actually came much later and had nothing to do with him losing his arm at Prospero. Well, a little bit, but it wasn't a direct result of the name. He did another heroic deed, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. You can look it up either on Spiky Bits, or there's a great site called Lexicanum, where you can get all sorts of juicy 40k info on all your favorite characters. Now, these guys are pretty cool because they are basically multi-part kits. You can kind of spruce them up and change a lot of the parts on them, but some of it you can't. I mean, this cape and things for Aramon you could definitely use separately. The claw you could use separately. The shoulder pads for Gregor you could use separately, even the backpack. So there's a lot of potential for conversions or just putting it together and painting it itself. That really will have a lot of people making these, their new characters in their army. Now, I love this guy here, and I can't wait to see an Aramon Chaos version here in the near future. I hope very, very much. And then kind of kicking it, basically closing it all out, is all the bases for those models. And of course, a decal sheet, which looks great, to be quite honest. I mean, this will really help out Thousand Sun players with these decals, because doing circles and things is very hard with the paintbrush. And then the nice red wolf icons there as well should definitely help players that want to collect either of those 2 legions. So that is pretty much it for this closer look at the sprues, the miniatures that come in the brand new Burning of Prospero box set. I hope you enjoyed it. Please check the channel here for all of our Burning of Prospero coverage over the next couple days and going on into the next few weeks.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. TheLongWar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access, with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos,